He was very trapped. And he, through the support of some other folk, made his way from the isolation of that beautiful island where he and everyone else he lived with were very feared by the people who lived around that particular facility. He came to the University of Hawaii, and he ultimately did earn a degree in Hawaiian studies, and he had gone on to do a lot of tremendous work in the Hawaiian community. There are others with incredible stories, and I think I do need to share one other story. Mary was a matron at the Waimanu Home for Mentally Retarded People, which was a language back then. She came into a family where diabetes was pretty much what everyone could look forward to dying from. And Mary was not an exception. By the time she was about 40, she had become totally blind and could no longer work as a matron at Waimanu Home. She then decided to come to college, and she, like the matron that was so much a part of her at Waimanu Home, became the matron at our program, taking care of many of the younger blind people whom she had encountered. She had the grace, the presence of mind to know that we are all on a journey, that we are all here to grow. We have never arrived. And she, along with the director of the program that I have worked for many years, created a name for our program. Our program is called Kokua, which in the Hawaiian language simply means assist. But Mary and our director made out of the letters of the word kokua a Hawaiian phrase that translates into the place of growing. And Mary epitomized that wisdom that we are all on a journey. One of the very beloved, famed Hawaiian ministers, kahus, a man named Abraham Akaka, was at Mary's deathbed. And at her funeral, he told the story of how Mary literally rose from her bed, totally blind with her legs amputated already, and told Kahu that she was not afraid to die because she saw Jesus coming toward her, dressed in blue, with his hands extended to take her home. And it was so very clear that to all of us that Reverend Akaka was powerfully moved by Mary's story. I know for a fact that the place of growing that Mary named is not only the place of growing for people with disabilities who come to our program to deal with the challenges of pursuing bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees, but it is more so for the students who come to work at our office. And most especially, it is for those of us who have had the privilege of working among students and persons with disabilities. Next week, our nation celebrates Independence Day. I do understand it's Alan Johnson's birthday as well. And I certainly applaud the efforts nationwide of the Centers for Independent Living, which began here in California, in Berkeley, decades ago. But I would suggest to all of us here that we revisit the concept of independence. I think in Christianity, the message is very clear. We are to love one another as we have been so selflessly loved. And that to me is not necessarily independence. That to me is more of an interdependence. Like Dee Bronninger described, she had learned so much from her husband about how to cope with the challenges of her life, and she is now returning that to her husband. I think that's what life is all about. It is about our being able to take and to give, whatever that may be, assistance, love, support. And so I leave you with a new way of maybe looking at the word hope from the context of all the things that I have briefly run through here. And I ask you to think of hope with 4 ideas that I connect with the letters in the word hope. And I've struggled over what would be the ultimate word that I would want you to think about as you leave here today. And for H, I've come to the conclusion that what is so important is harmony. And that may go back to my unconscious, subconscious Buddhist exposure in those first 5 years of my life. In the Buddhist tradition, in the Japanese tradition, we need to be in harmony with one another, with nature or God. And it is also very important that we are at harmony or in harmony with ourselves. Even in flower arrangements, Japanese flower arrangements, there's a concept of God and earth and man. And so I put forward the concept of harmony or interdependence as being a critical part of hope. For the letter O, I think what is important is opportunity. When doors close, we often feel that that is the end. But I often tell students, I promise you that other doors will open. You have to see them, find them, and dare to go through them. But there are always opportunities. In the wisdom of China, the character for the word crisis includes the sub-character big opportunity. How is that for wisdom? For the letter P, I really struggled because I thought of so many different things like perseverance and presence. But you know what I think is the most important is patience. I am always amazed at the lessons we have to learn that we don't remember we have to learn. And I reference Corinthians. When love is described, what is the first thing that love is supposed to be? Love is patient and kind. And I cannot tell you how important I have found that to be, because life is a continuum of challenge, and it requires that we are patient with ourselves and with one another. With the letter E, I'm sure you've already guessed, I would suggest we embrace empathy. It is being present for one another, living with compassion for one another, that I think we do God's work. So I would ask that we consider harmony, opportunity, patience, and empathy. And I'll end on this simple note. Remember at the beginning I shared with you that for me, where I was happy, where I was comfortable, was at hula. And I have the opportunity today to share, kind of maybe pull this all together. There is a Hawaiian hymn, and it's in the New Century Hymnal. I'm sorry, I didn't check on the number, but it is called E Kolu Mea Nui. And I'm sorry, Dee, that I'm going to do hand motions for this, but I'm going to do it in English, and then if you'll tolerate my 4-line hymn, I will tell you about this story. There are 3 things great in this world. The first one is faith. The second one is hope. The third one is love. It's the greatest of them all. And all these things are blessed by God. E kolu mea nui makahonua. O kamana o io, kamana o la ana. A me ke aloha kai o ia e. Po mai ka ina mea a pau. Po mai ka ina mea a pau.